Calls for entries are possibly the biggest scam I've ever had the misfortune to come across. I mean, look at them. They're sold like they're going to make you the next big thing. And it's not just photography. I see this across all professional and creative pathways. But for photographers, they're kind of sold as like the saviours. Enter this competition and you'll become the next David Bailey, the next whatever, the next fucking flavour of the month it is. And I've done a bit of research around this. There's very few people win competitions actually go on to have any kind of career. I will talk about that at some length. Calls for entries, in my opinion, are the biggest scam on the planet currently, and there's lots of those. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to episode 31 of the Lance Burkitt Encounter. Today I'm going to simply get into photography competitions and the scams that they are. And I say this because when I first started photography in the Neolithic period, I got some advice quite early on from somebody who kind of claimed to be an established photographer. And once, I got a good portfolio, but I'd kind of hit a bit of a wall, shall we say, and I was trying to find ways in which I can get people to book me more often, pay me more money. So I was talking to people and I was, finding stuff out of, how other people had made their path to success. And this guy, whose name escapes me now, I mean, he can't be that good, I can't even fucking remember who he was. But he said to me straight off the bat, "Oh, great work, Lance. What competitions are you entering?" And I thought, what a strange fucking question that is. See my portfolio, sees how good it is, sees the worth of it, sees it's, not just a lucky few shots, it's a portfolio worth. And he's asking me what competitions. And my first initial thought was, I don't want to be famous or become a successful photographer because I want some competition. I want to be successful off the back of my body of work and the fact that I'm fucking good at what I do. One competition win can propel you. I thought, surely it can't. So I said to him, I've not any real interest in entering competitions and winning them because through my whole life when I was a musician before and other people I've seen entering competitions, I always thought they were a bit of a swizz, a bit of a con. And he was like, oh, no, that's how lots of people get their name out by entering competitions. So I remember saying to him, but how many do you know that have won it? And he said, well, that's not really the point, is it? It's, you're getting your name out. And I'm thinking, how the fucking hell are you getting your name out if you don't win? Do they give prizes for coming 10th? Do they give prizes to people who just enter? So that must have been about, 2008, 2009. And it struck me then that I felt that it was a bit of a backdoor into the industry and wasn't something I really wanted to do. But I thought, since this guy, claims to be there or thereabouts, I'll have a look and I'll see what's about, see what the competitions are, see what's worth entering, what's not worth entering, and we'll go from there. So I'm looking around and quite quickly I realised that most of the competitions, particularly the prestigious ones, the Taylor Wessings, the fucking World Mr. Universe, whatever they are, come down to give us your money. And I think any competition, whether it's photography, whether it's sport competition, whether it's I don't know, anything, who's the best knitter, whatever it is, if you're putting a competition with prizes up, the prizes should be sponsored by somebody or gifted by, or the money should be there. It shouldn't be down to the people entering it to pay for the prizes, if that makes sense. Because if that's the case, anybody can go, I'm going to offer you £1,000 for a photograph prize. It's a tenner to enter, but if I get 100 people, that's that, you know what I mean? And that seems to be the format for most of them, if not all of them, that there's no real prestige. I mean, sometimes you look at the judges and you think, oh, and I could tomorrow wake up and go, right, I'm having a Lance Burkitt Encounter photography competition. I'm going to say 10 quid each to get in. It's a 500 quid prize for the winner. The judges are going to be me and somebody else who I pick, that I think's great. And the winner's the winner. Tough fucking shit. Give me a tenner, stick your picture in. And if 100 people apply to win 500 quid first prize, I've made 500 quid, 250 quid from me and my mate. But what has that person who won got other than the prestige and a few quid? I mean, 250 for my mate, 250 for me, 500 quid for the winner. What else does the winner get? I mean, I could push him around social media, I could interview him on the podcast. And if you expand that out and look at all the competitions out there, and I'm not going to name many on screen, I might talk about a few, but I'm not going to name any because it's strange, innit? I did some searching last week while I was thinking about doing a podcast on this topic, and suddenly my social media feeds are full of fucking photography competitions, so they're not hard to find. Prestigious ones, few and far between. Extremely rare. Rarer than a Yorkshire man paying around. That's how rare they are. But so I'm just going back to my original point about 20 years ago, thinking no, and then my experience of seeing competitions, all kinds of competitions, from local ones to big ones, thinking, why would I pay to enter a competition? I've probably got no chance of winning because it's a bit like the lotto, innit? You go and pay your 2 quid or whatever it is now. That's another fucking scam, innit? Lotto. You go and pay your money, and then you sit there crossing your fingers and you hope that your numbers come out, and the odds are something like 1 in 15 gazillion. And the odds of you winning a photography competition against people who have put in maybe 2 or 3 pictures each, thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of photographers, when all you're then being judged on is somebody else's opinion. And I mentioned this in the previous podcast about opinions being like arseholes, everybody's got one. But why does my opinion mean your photo should win or shouldn't win? Why does my mate's opinion mean your photo should or shouldn't win? Why does the people, the upper middle class people that always seem to judge those competitions, who are they to say yours is better than somebody else's? So I just find the whole thing a kind of a money-making scam, and it goes deeper than that, and I'll get into that in a minute. So my experience of competitions is I've entered a few ones over time. So ones that didn't cost me anything to enter, I've entered them just to see how it went, see what the format was, see who won. And the handful of ones I've entered in that kind of format, the people who win it just disappear into obscurity. And they'll be glad they didn't pay a fee to enter it because they're kind of here today, gone tomorrow. The old chip paper analogy. And I thought, it's a lot of effort in it. Sit there, collate your pictures, whittle them down to 1 or 2, whatever it is you can enter. Send them, wait, tell people you've entered a photo competition, hear nothing. Somebody wins, you look at that winner's work and you think, it's no better than mine, it's no different than mine. It's somebody's choice. There's no attributes that would make it more winnable than mine. My exposures are good, theirs are. My content's good, theirs are. My edit's good, theirs are. If it's a print, if you sent a print in, my prints are, I know they're probably better than most people's. So you think, okay, it's not cost me no other than energy. I've spent some energy sorting it out, sending it in, didn't win. If you do win and you trace the people who win, if you do win and you trace the people's journey that have won, and I'm talking about everything from the free competitions and stuff you can get on Viewbug and all them places. If you trace people who've won, then what do they come to? I traced a couple from the very last Taylor Wessing competition, which I think not last year before, to see how they've blown up, and they haven't. None of them have blown up. So a couple of them are kind of semi-known and have good, strong social media presences prior, but nobody's blown up. Nobody's gone stratospheric, and that's the one we got to pay per entry. And I think the swizz is right there, isn't it? It's give us your energy or give us your money so we can go, look at us running this competition. Oh, we're so prestigious, you can enter our competition, but it's £15 per picture. And one thing that really gripes me about that is people who are into photography, whether you're working as a pro or whether you're working as an amateur. I'm not going to use the phrase semi-professional because that's the biggest misnomer, isn't it? I'm semi-professional. You're not, you knobhead. You're either a professional or you're not. You're not a semi-photographer. You don't sometimes take pictures, or you don't take half a picture, do you? You're a photographer, or you're not. You're a footballer, or you're not. Semi-professional. Semi-professional. Do you earn money from it? Yeah, great. Have you got another job? Yeah, great. But you're not a semi-professional butcher and a semi-professional photographer. You're just a fucking professional. In fact, you're not. You're just a photographer. The word professional is a lot of bollocks. Anyway, I digress. Where was I? Wind it back. So, people who are kind of getting into photography, particularly, who have maybe shot a few things, made a few quid, will be struggling. Freelance photographers always struggle. Even the ones who are getting what you might call regular paid work. We're not millionaires. We're not talking about people who are driving around in Ferraris here. We're talking about people driving second-hand Ford Focuses or whatever your poison is. And they get offered this chance to become known, step up the ladder, become one of us, enter the club. And to be fair, it's a club you don't really want to be in, and I'll talk about that on another podcast. So, photographers are there thinking, oh God, look at the judges. Let me have a look at my search from. Judge, nobody. Judge 2, nobody. Judge 3, nobody. And you think, yeah, but it's a prestigious competition. Everybody knows about it. Why do they know about it? Well, because they're really good at marketing on social media. Okay, all right. But it's only 15 quid a picture. Or if you put 6 in, you get it for like 40% off. So you're sitting there thinking, is it worth it? That 100 quid that I earned last Friday doing that portrait session for my sister's mate, how much of that can I afford to spend on sending pictures to a competition that is prestigious because they've told me it is, has got a bunch of judges that I don't know who they are, whose competition winners for the last 4 or 5 years have not blown up to do anything or become anything more than they were. But it might cost me 60 quid to send half a dozen pictures in. Is it worth it? And a lot of photographers, because like all artists, you're desperate to get your name out, you're desperate to be known, you're desperate to be loved and adored and more importantly, get bookings, might sit there and go, fuck it, I'm just sticking one in. And then so they'll spend hours figuring out the best picture, the picture they think's got the most chance of winning. They'll upload it, they'll resize it, do all that bullshit, they'll upload it and they'll pay the 15 quid and then they'll sit back and they'll lay in bed at night and they'll go, I've just wasted 15 fucking quid. But Mr. Competition Organiser, Mr. Prestigious Competition Organiser, Mr. Look at me, we're brilliant, look at us, we're up a notch from you, is sitting going, another 15 quid off another pillock. Oh, and another one, and another, oh, 60 quid, oh. And it just makes my fucking piss boil, because competitions that might be prestigious and worthy and give something to your career, add something to your portfolio, make people talk about you, make people book you, should be fucking free, and they should be sponsored by the people who are involved in that. And very rarely are they. Occasionally, I'm not saying 100% of them are, but 99% of them are fucking money-making scams. And the only person that wins is the competition people. And every time anybody pays to enter a competition, whether it's photography, whether it's painting, whether it's football, whether it's rally driving, whatever the fuck it is, somebody's making money off you. What are you getting? Nothing other than stress, disappointment, and probably, I know because I've spoke to a few people who've kind of done this, but I don't have any 100% proof that people have packed in because of it. But it's one of the mitigating factors that makes people who have been into photography for a few years go, what's the fucking point? I might as well just quit. I've put in every competition going. I've emailed every magazine there is. I've spoke to every editor. I can't get any fucking work. Fuck it, I'm done. And some of that is the fault of competitions. Some of it is the fault of the industry being gate kept. So the industry as a whole there are gatekeepers everywhere, and I'll do a podcast on that as well. So the chances of you getting into the industry at that level are pretty much dead man's shoes or bribery if you've got something on people, because you ain't going to get in there just off your portfolio. Quite a lot of it, like most industries, particularly creative industries, is right place, right time, look and all that stuff. But the vast majority of it is getting past the gatekeepers. And if your face don't fit, or your accent doesn't fit, or you're not from London, you're from Yorkshire or Ireland or Scotland or somewhere else that's not London, unless you've got the chance, opportunity, and, financially you can move there and live in that world, you're fucked. You're not getting anywhere. And I found that out the hard way. So, calls for entries are probably, outside of the gatekeeper situation, the calls for entries are probably my biggest bugbear in the industry, because I fucking hate them. They're an absolute demoralising swizz. All they do is make photographers feel worthless and used, and they make them skint, or they make them more skint. And I mean, once you get past it, you've paid your 15. Let's look at the judges. I mean, I'm not going to single anybody out, but just go on any internet search browser of your choice and search for photography competitions. In fact, let me just do it while we're talking. Let's just have a look. We'll go UK, because that's where I'm based. Photography. I could spell it, be dangerous. Competitions UK. So, first one's sponsored. Second one is MoMA. Then there's all sorts of ones: amateur photographer, British Wildlife, Natural Portrait Gallery, British Photography Awards, Scouty, all those other things. And out of all them, there's probably two that are like what called genuine, and the winners might get a bit of something out of it. And even the ones that even do my fucking boxing even more are Young Photographer of the Year, New Photographer of the Year, Female Photographer of the Year. We're all photographers, we're all humans. Okay, I'll admit, no female photographers made my top 5, but they're in the top 10. And to have competitions where there's no physical advantage of being a man over a woman, photography, why have we got split categories? Most female, if I had 10 female photographers in a room and 10 male, I guarantee you the 10 females will have a better portfolio, more robust, more correct, more creative, more vibrant than the men. But yet we feel that we need to have female and male competitions. Is that because females feel like they don't get a good run against men? It might be. Maybe widen my position that nobody gets a chance in competitions. Maybe the female aspect of it is they don't feel like they do, so they split it up. So maybe that's it. We can let them off if that's the case. But amateur, young, semi-pro, fucking semi-pro. Really, it should just be: do you earn a living from photography in the main? Is it your main job? Yes. Category. Are you an amateur stroke? Don't make a living from it. Do it for fun. Have the occasional pay gig? Yes. Category. That's probably it. And that's only because people who shoot professionally or commercially do it a lot more and have a lot more advantage to do it, a lot more practice. Should be a little step above. Not always the case, because many, what you might call amateur photographers, are fucking brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So again, that's a bit of a misnomer, isn't it? But I guess somebody who's been taking pictures for 3 weeks going up against somebody who's been taking a picture 30 years is a bit unfair, so there needs to be something there. But again, it just goes on, the list goes on. So you can imagine, can't you, a new photographer going on to the old search engine, typing it and thinking, okay, now there's one there. So then they whittle it down to the ones that kind of do, that are about what they do. So do they do street? Do they do people portraits? Do they do buildings, skies, floors, monkeys, Godzilla? What do they photograph? Then they can probably still have 10 or 20 just in England competitions they can go for there. How many of them are going to be genuine? How many of them are going to be free? How many of them are going to give the winner some prestige, some oomph, other than a few £100 and nothing? I mentioned on the social media that only 100 people follow. So I'm struggling to say how in the main a photo competition is any use to anybody, other than a few very rare winners out of the hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people that enter them. How is any of that any use to anybody other than one or two people? It's not. It's mostly demoralising, mostly costly. It's mostly inhibits you from feeling like you're doing well, because you're thinking these judges, who this organisation are saying the dogs, have judged my work to not be good. I've seen the winner. I don't know what I've done wrong. I don't understand. You don't get feedback, do you? You don't get judges going, Excuse me, Mr. Entrant or Mrs. Entrant 3493. Your work didn't quite meet the mark because, opinions like arseholes. So I'm lost as to see what the worth is for 100% of people entering them, because I don't see any. And yes, some of you can argue that the rare winners, the rare people might go off and do something, but in the main, no. In the main, they might have 5 minutes of fame and then they're back to struggling to get people to see who they are, where they are, what they do, how good they are, all that other stuff. And I think it's not wrong. It's scandalous. It's scamful. It's up in Yorkshire, we call it a swizz. I don't know if you know what that means. The swizz means a scam. It's just a load of bollocks. It's an absolute swizz. Like another example. Chocolate bars used to be this big and 30p. Now they're that big and £5. It's a fucking swizz, isn't it? Photography competitions in the main, generally speaking, are a swizz. They're a scam. They're just a money grab, cash grab for people to make money off unassuming, inexperienced, and quite often people who shouldn't be even entering yet because they're not quite ready to present their work in that forum. But the promise of fame, fortune, sucks them in, and it's almost like they think it's a shortcut to the top. And in my experience, it's very rare that any shortcuts to the top are actually shortcuts to anywhere other than 5 minutes of fame and back to where you were. And sometimes that can taint you as well, can't it? We've all seen it where people, particularly musicians, have 5 minutes of fame and they don't quite do as well as they thought, and then done. Same for photography. There's an old saying, and I don't know who said it. At the time I thought it was bollocks, but it's probably true, and the saying is, you're only as good as your last picture. And there's probably some truth in that, because if you put out a big pile of bobar's another Yorkshire phrase, by the way, it means shit. If you put out a load of shit, a big piece of steaming bobar, and people see it, how do you come back from that? How do you come back from that judgment, that critique of, oh, well, that piece of work, bro, this is bobar. It's, musicians go through it, don't they? First single great, second single was shit. First album great, second single bomb. Record company dropped them a lot. So it's same across the creative industries. I just think photographers, because we're solo artists, aren't we? We work alone, we ride alone. It's a lot more difficult to come back from a bad set of pictures. And again, that comes back down to a podcast a few back where I talked about selecting and make sure you're only putting out your best work. I mean, I've shown you some of my dog shit pictures on this podcast over the last year. I couldn't give a shit. I'm just happy to be honest and show you my journey. I'm not looking for anybody to go, oh, Lance, off we go. I've made my way in life through many means, and currently, touch wood, I'm lucky enough not to have to rely just on photography for income. But if I had to, I would. So yeah, it bothers me that the industry is not bothered about it and does not really much about it. You see the odd piece where somebody's gone, oh God, it's a lot of shit in it. We need to stop that. But I come at it from this perspective. When I first started in photography 20 years ago, I was coming off the back of some hard times. I couldn't afford to enter competitions that were 10, 15, 20 quid a picture. Even if they were worthy, even if they were prestigious, even if they were going to excel my career to the next level, I couldn't have afforded to do it. So I think, I go back to my youth and I look at where I would have come up with it. If I'd have left school and gone into photography, for example, I would have been fucked. If to even, I don't know how I would have got a camera. I would have probably borrowed something off my granddad or somewhere. There's no way, as a kid in the 80s from a working class background, I could afford to get into photography at any level. Maybe I could have gone to college, borrowed some kit from there, but generally speaking, it wouldn't have happened. So you can imagine, can't you, if you could afford to buy the then photography magazines, or maybe you were looking at one on a newsstand. Fucking Newsstand, where am I from? New York. That's a news agents. And you were thinking, oh, photography competition, I'll enter that. Well, I ain't got a camera, and I've got nowhere to get prints done, and I could probably borrow me granddad's point and shoot. What that be? Let's say you get over all that. You get a print made. We're going to get 15 quid from to enter. And even looking today, when you look at how things, the cost of living today is horrendous. It's been done on purpose. You can't argue that toss. I mean, I wouldn't make it like it is. You wouldn't make it how it is, but it is how it is. That tells you it's done on purpose. So how's a kid today from a working class background on a council estate or even a lower middle class estate afford to become a photographer and put work into a competition at 15 quid a pop? It's just never gonna fucking happen. So it also plays particularly into the higher end competitions, the ones that do claim you're going to get fame, fortune, and people throwing work at you. Apart from the gatekeeping side of it, it's pretty upper class shit in it. It's the mentality is us and them, or rather them and us. The chances of a kid off a council estate from a working class background, even having his entry looked at, slim. The whole thing is kind of even presented in an upper middle class, high class way, probably to deter people like you from entering, because who do you think you are? And it's quite rare in my experience to come across photographers or companies that what you call working class or even lower middle class come to that, put competitions out like that aren't sponsored by somebody that doesn't put the money up for it or the prize up for it, and they're free to enter. They tend to be working class endeavours. When you look at the higher end of things, the upper middle class, the higher class, the wealth in the country, the big magazines, the big photo companies, the big chains, if you like to call them, the level is so high to get to them that they're totally missing out probably 80% of the photography or photographers, because they're all lower or working class or lower middle class. So the massive opportunities out there are just out of sight for the regular photographers, and that's done on purpose. That's to keep us down here and them up there. That's all it is. I don't see any other reason why those big competitions, to encourage people to get out of their situations into better situations by charging them 15 quid a picture. It's a fucking piss take. It smacks to me of us and them, of club mentality. It's a big club and you ain't in it. And I've never wanted to be. Once I realised that club existed, I never wanted to be a member of it. I did strive for a few years to get up into that club, but when I realised what it was, I ran the other way. And I guess it depends what you want to get out of your photography or out of your career. Do you want to hang around with people who really feel like that about you? Or do you want to be around people who get you, are on your level, and who love what you do because you're good at doing it, not because you came from the right background, the right family, the right estate, the right neck of the woods in the country, the right, north-south thing. I just think that quite obviously photography competitions, what you might call the higher end photography competitions, are absolutely nailed on 100% scams. And scams which are aimed at people who have got more money than sense, and are purposely done to keep people who have got no money but lots of sense away from the opportunities that may be afforded to them and may not. Because I'm still yet to see, to be fair, even with the high-end magazines, I'm still yet to see any real evidence that people can attain amazing careers off the back of winning one. And like I said, I did check a couple of the recent winners for the most prestigious ones, the ones that are out every year, the National Portrait Prize and all that bollocks, to see if they'd gone on to do wondrous massive things, and I could find very little evidence that any of them have. And that just tells me that another money grab in it. I mean, like I said earlier, if you think about it, some of them will, how can I put this? Quite often, you used to see it back in the day, 20 years ago, you see things in competitions where the competition would say, "Oh, you own the copyright, but we can do whatever the fuck we want with your picture anyway." And because I've not entered one for years, I don't know whether that's still the same. It probably is, but I mean, who do they think they are? Yeah, you can use the picture to say I've won the competition or to show they entered the competition, but you're not fucking using it commercially. But they do. So not only do they get money off people, they get usage rights for free on the tail of what? Having 5 minutes of fame if you're lucky. And quite often competitions are run by, stock photography platforms and brands and PR firms and all those other things as a money-making scheme, and they're no good for you. And if all I can teach you in this whole podcast is to think long and hard about not wasting your money on competitions, then I'm happy. If you don't do it, I'm really happy. If you think about not doing it, I'm happy, because I've not seen any evidence yet anywhere in my entire life, certainly the last 20 years of photography, that competitions are anything other than energy sucking, time sucking, money sucking scams. So think long and hard about it. I mean, by all means, tell me to piss off. Tell me, Lance, you're wrong. I entered a competition, I won, and now I'm famous. Brilliant. I'm glad it worked for you. But you know and I know that the vast majority of people thinking about doing this, or having done it, are wasting the time, effort and money. And I'm going to try and stop that if I can. I don't want these people to make money off you, because photography is hard enough. It's hard enough to motivate yourself to put work out that doesn't get views, likes, seen, entertained, than it is giving your work away like that and paying for people to judge you as being not good enough. I mean, it's just insane, isn't it? What's the old saying? If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And I think competitions must be like that. But I reckon there'll be people up and down the land who apply and put in for probably most competitions that are going, never get anywhere. Leave your comments below. Tell me your experience of photography competitions. Am I completely wrong? Have I missed the mark altogether? I'd be surprised if I have. But if you've had some success, or you've had some bad experiences, please tell me in the comments, because I'd love to hear more thoughts about competition scams. Because not just in photography, but in all walks of life. To me, that's what they are. They're just scams. So that's my thoughts on calls for entries and competitions and all the other crappy stuff. I wish it was a more positive kind of vibe today, because I've done a big tidy up in the studio. I've done a bit of rearranging. There's a few new pictures up, as you might have seen. I was in a good mood, but then I thought, I need to get this one done, get it off my chest. So I did, and it's put me on a bit of a downer, actually, thinking about it. But I'm happy to have my mind changed, but I'm pretty confident that I won't. But by all means, please, please, please let me know how you feel, what you think about competitions. And please do think long and hard about whether to submit your work or not, because if you do, what are you setting yourself up for? What do you get out of it? Do you win anything? And by win, I mean, do you gain anything? Because life is about gain, isn't it? If you're going to put time, effort, energy and money into something, you want a bit of payback for it. And there's going to be one winner. If 10,000 people enter it, there are going to be 999,000, whatever it is. There'll be nearly 10,000 losers. People who are just depressed because they've seen the winner and they think, what the fuck, how's that better than mine? It's because there's a couple of people going, oh, I love that one. Oh, look at that, look at that. Like Mr. Bailey says, most people in those positions are just visually illiterate anyway, so, keep saying it. But opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one. Anyway, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for listening. Pretty short one today. Keeping it short and sweet, because I'm off to the pub now to get pissed. That's drunk, to those of you that aren't English. Please like and subscribe if you've stayed this long. It really is starting to help the channel get a bit of traction, which is good, because I did this for fun, as you know. Now I'm doing it because I like to do it, enjoy it. It's good therapy. I like to get my experiences across so it's not wasted. And more people are starting to watch and listen, and the more people that subscribe, like and share, the more people that can see. So please do keep doing that. It really is appreciated, those of you that have stuck around long enough to like and subscribe. So thank you very much for that. Have a good afternoon, evening, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you all on the flip side. Cheers.
about a way to get you out of my mind. Think about a way to get you out of my mind. Think about a way to get you out of my